So Icon of the Seas is here, right? It's on the ocean right now with passengers on board. And it looks amazing. It really does. The question that I have, though, are the itineraries any good? Let's find out. Welcome to This is the Cruise. I'm Clint, and this is the channel where we look at upcoming cruise itineraries and try to find out if this is the cruise for you. Today, we have a big one, an iconic one, perhaps. I promise no more iconic jokes. The Icon of the Seas does look amazing, and I hope that you've watched some of the incredible videos out there already by some amazing cruise reviewers and cruise ship reviewers. But we're going to answer the question if any of the itineraries are really any good for this groundbreaking class of ship. If you don't know, Icon of the Seas is the largest cruise ship currently at sea. It can hold about 7,600 passengers, which is just amazing. And at first glance, if you've never cruised before, that sounds like a crazy amount of people. But the ship is so big that it just spreads the people out even more. You can be on a really small ship and be really crowded because it just doesn't have the same amount of space. So your square footage per person is still pretty great. And with a ship that big, there's so many venues and so many opportunities and activities to do things that you're not going to be fighting crowds all the time. Of course, with 7,000 people on board, there are going to be crowds. It's just no way around it. But we know over the next 2 years that Icon of the Seas is going to be sailing from Fort Lauderdale, and it's doing back-to-back 7-day itineraries. How do you know which one of those itineraries is the best? They're generally around the same price if you're not paying any kind of markup for some of the earlier sailings that are sold out, which is fine. If you wait a little bit longer into 2024 into 2025, the prices do sort of stabilize across the itineraries. Seasonally, some of the sailings are more expensive than others. That's a given. We know that if you're sailing during peak time or sailing during the holidays, it's going to cost a little bit more. But all things being equal, we want to find out which itineraries are best. And stay tuned, because there are some surprises in here that I find really interesting. So as usual, I like to find out where could we visit on these itineraries. So we're going to take a look at where is Icon of the Seas even going. A ship that large can't get into smaller ports, so that does limit some of the locations that we could visit on this ship. A shallow port can't handle a ship this big, and some destinations just simply don't want a ship this large coming in. Let's quickly look at these. And as I go through these, I'm also going to mention some of the strengths that each destination has as it relates to adventure, enrichment, or relaxation, which are 3 facets to the scoring system that I used. And then we'll look at the actual itineraries themselves. Okay, so we're starting in Fort Lauderdale, a nice place to visit. It's usually warm and easy to get to. Then let's quick zip over here to CocoCay. Royal Caribbean refers to this as a perfect day at CocoCay. That's how all of their itineraries list visiting this island in the Bahamas. It is perhaps the best private island on offer by all cruise lines. It's great. It has something for everyone. It is like visiting a major amusement theme park. There are rides and there are plenty of beaches to relax and there's all kinds of stuff to do. For adventure, we've actually done this where we've taken our snorkel gear off the ship. We bring our own gear so we don't have to rent it, and then we just find a beach and go snorkeling. We've visited the submerged airplanes and sunken ships and the cannons, and it's a great adventurous activity to do that doesn't cost any extra, which we really like, because private islands are your captive audience, so anything you spend money on there stays with the cruise line. For CocoCay, it's such a great island that it's easy to get away from all of the activities and find a quiet spot on the beach and relax if that's what you want to do. Though there's so much going on, this probably wouldn't be the place I would do that. But if relaxation and beach time is your thing, then you're not going to have a problem here. On the other hand, enrichment, it's isolated and it's run and owned by Royal Caribbean, so you're not getting any experience with the Bahamian culture, unfortunately, here at Perfect Day at CocoCay. However, let's juxtapose that against the other quasi-private island that Royal Caribbean has in Haiti, called Labadee. And I've been here, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. They have it kind of walled off to where you can't get into Haiti proper. It does feel like you're in a private island. However, if you walk away from the ship and away from the activities, they actually do have local merchants and some opportunities to have a more local experience, even with some excursions. So that's good. So this is not a bad place for some enrichment, and I want to be able to pour into Haiti as much positivity as I can, because they've been through the ringer, as we know. There's also beautiful beaches here to relax. If you want to do something adventurous, you could snorkel or kayak. It still has that amusement park vibe that you get at CocoCay. Moving on from the private islands, we can visit Puerto Plata in the Dominican Republic. From an adventure perspective, we've done this where we visited the Damahagua waterfalls, where you journey down the 7 waterfalls. You can also snorkel in Puerto Plata in the DR. Though if you've never been, I would recommend doing the waterfalls. Yes, it's going to be crowded. It's the thing to do when you're there. They space it out and you just kind of make your way down these waterfalls, and it is a blast. We had just an amazing time doing it. You do have to deal with merchants selling their stuff, and it can feel like a tourist trap. If you've never done it, I would definitely recommend doing it. If you want to relax, they've got Blue Lagoon. The Blue Lagoon is great, or the beaches are great to relax. And then from an enrichment perspective, take a city tour, get into Puerto Plata, and see what life is like here in the Dominican Republic. Moving over to San Juan, Puerto Rico, this is really one of my favorite cruise destinations. From an adventure perspective, depending on the timing, consider doing a bioluminescent kayak adventure. We've done this. It's best at night because the water just lights up as you paddle through. It's amazing, and I can't even describe it and convey it here in a video. You really have to see it in person. It's beautiful. The El Yunque Rainforest is another adventurous activity, something to consider. We've actually not done it. There's a natural water slide. It's basically a waterfall, but a water slide that you can go down, and then hiking the rainforest. That would be the next thing we would do the next time we visit Puerto Rico, for sure. There is the Iquitos deserted island. I may be saying that wrong. You can take a catamaran out to this kind of uninhabited island and just relax. So from a relaxation perspective, absolutely some great ways to relax. You could also spend some time with a leisurely stroll through Old Town for relaxation, which leads me to the enrichment opportunities. Take a city tour. You can do it on your own, or you can do a guided city tour. Old Town's safe. It's a great place to visit, and you can go to the fort and kind of get immersed in the history of Old San Juan. One of my favorite places to visit. Next, we have St. Thomas, another top-tier destination in the Caribbean. From an adventure perspective, we love snorkeling. We love getting into the water. One of the things that we did that I highly recommend, we did this on our own. We didn't book it through the ship. We actually chartered our own boat with another family, and we were able to split the cost that way. It's not that expensive, particularly if you look at the number of people that you're bringing with you. 7 to 8 people. Divide that up, per person, you find out that it's actually quite a good value. Chartering a boat requires you to also have the captain of the boat with you, which means that they're going to take you to some of the best snorkel and swimming destinations around the island. Hop on a place like TripAdvisor to do some research there, but that's what we did, and we loved it, and we would absolutely do it again. From a relaxation perspective, some of the best beaches in the Caribbean are here, just quiet, and you can get away. You can also do an easy shopping stroll right there. You're going to be right there in the city when you pull in as well, which is easy. And from an enrichment perspective, I would highly consider going to a marine reservation and kind of learning about the marine life. There's a lot of opportunities for enrichment from an eco perspective here in St. Thomas. Staying in the Saints, as it were, another place that we're going to visit is St. Martin. Again, there's snorkeling to do and scuba diving to do. Of course, Mahu Beach, where the airplanes come and land right over and the sand blows everywhere and people are blowing everywhere. It's a lot of fun. It's a thing to do. The beaches may be crowded with, the cruise ships in town and the vacationers that are already there. But if you've never done it, worth considering doing. Or you could visit the rainforest if you want to get away. Also, experience a guided eco tour for some more enrichment. And then again, they have amazing beaches for relaxation. It sort of starts to sound like a theme here with these itinerary ports. Moving over into the Western Caribbean, over towards Mexico, we could be visiting Costa Maya. From an adventure perspective, they have water parks and snorkeling. I don't know that I would be doing much of that here. You can get onto some private beaches. You have to pay for access and they'll take a shuttle and go to a private beach. That could be relaxing. I'm hesitant to recommend it, and I'll get to that when we get to our next stop in just a second. But from an enrichment perspective, this is where I'm going to be spending my time focusing. We're going to be going to some Mayan ruins, maybe doing a dolphin discovery, but I highly recommend visiting some of the Mayan ruins in the area. Do that because it's practically incomprehensible to wrap your head around the millennia of history, and highly recommend it. It's worth the time. We can zip across the water over to Cozumel, where from an adventure perspective, if you can get in, space is very limited. I highly recommend doing the America's Cup sailing excursion. We did that with some friends, and we would absolutely do it again. It is one of the best things that we've done in Cozumel. We've also done the dolphin discovery, which gets your adrenaline pumping when the dolphins come up and pull you along, but you generally have to book those on your own if you want to have a better experience than booking through the ship. Just a little tip there, because the ship will do more of a dolphin encounter, but if you want to really get into the water and swim with the dolphins and have them pull you around and push you around and that kind of thing, those usually you have to book on your own. You can also snorkel, and there's water parks here, and there are these kind of beach adventure things where they've got the big blow up floaty things in the water. Those are fine. We've done those with our kids before and we've had a blast. You're exhausted when it's done because you're out pulling yourself up and jumping and swimming around, which is fine. From a relaxation perspective, again, a lot of times they have these private beaches on offer, just like in Costa Maya. Here's the problem that we've experienced when we've tried to relax on these private beaches. They're supposed to be private, but people are coming along selling things to you, trying to get you to buy things, and you just want some peace and quiet. And we were kind of turned off by that. We didn't really enjoy having our private, secluded beach experience being so disrupted all the time. And now there may be places that are better than where we've experienced, but it just hasn't been our experience the handful of times we've done that in Cozumel. So just be aware. You may not be able to relax as much as you think you can in spite of how it's sold to you. Yeah, unfortunately. From an enrichment perspective, however, there are some opportunities here. Again, we talked about the dolphin discovery. The marine life is fantastic to get into and kind of the ecosystem there. Some tours from the ship, this is where I would definitely book through the ship, maybe going over to the Mayan ruins, but generally have to get on the mainland for the big ones. Or if you want to do something maybe less crowded, you could do a taco tour and enjoy some of the local food. That's probably what I would do next time, because I've been to Cozumel a bunch and have done all of these things. But I haven't done that. Next we have Roatan, and this is a destination I have not been to. I was supposed to go here, but the weather was so bad that the ship was unable to pull in and drop us off, which was unfortunate. So we had to divert to another destination. Our plan in Roatan, Honduras, was to swim with whale sharks. We were very much looking forward to that. We have swam with sharks before in shark cages, and it's incredible because they're so big. We've never swam with whale sharks, which are even bigger, but they're more docile. So that's what we would do from an adventure perspective. We would get into the water and do something like that. There are some amazing beaches to relax on here in Honduras, in the Roatan area. And from an enrichment perspective, there are so many nature tours and wildlife tours that they're just everywhere. So there's a great enrichment opportunities from an eco perspective. So here in the Western Caribbean, We have some history options in Mexico, and we get down to Honduras and we have some ecological options as well from an enrichment perspective. I really like the balance there. Okay, so that's where we could go. Now let's talk about the itineraries that take us there. Obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but in 7 days, you're not going to be doing an Eastern Caribbean cruise and a Western Caribbean cruise. You certainly could do them back to back. And the way that these work is there are two primary categories of itineraries. There's the Western Caribbean and the Eastern Caribbean, and oftentimes they just do them back to back. 7 days Eastern, 7 days Western, 7 days Eastern, 7 days Western, with some variations thrown in. And I think the variations are perhaps the most interesting of the bunch. So let's start with the standard itineraries, the ones that kind of go back to back. And if you were to just pick a date, you are likely to get one of these two sailings. Oh wait, I can't do those first. First, we have to talk about what's happening right now as I'm filming this. There's two back-to-back Western Caribbean sailings. They're their inaugural cruises. This is what all the influencers are on and all the press are on, and the people that honestly I think maybe overpaid just to say they could be the first to sail on this ship. I don't ever recommend doing that. You can wait a few weeks. You're not going to miss out. The experience is actually probably going to be better if you give it a little bit of time, because this is a brand new ship. They're going to be figuring some things out, and over the next year, I guarantee you some things will change as they optimize some of the ship. Not just a brand new ship, it's a brand new class of ship. So there's still some figuring out to do here. I don't want to be on these first few weeks. And this itinerary, these inaugural itineraries, they're okay. They obviously, all of these are going to leave from Miami, 2 days at sea, ends up in Costa Maya, then over to Mexico, then we have a day at sea, go have a perfect day at CocoCay, and then back to Miami. That's 3 countries with 3 port stops and 3 sea days, which gives us a variety score of only 2.5. That's not very good. We're only visiting 3 countries, the United States, Mexico, and the Bahamas. And then with the sea day ratio there, 1-to-1, we knock half a point off, which gives us 2.5. From a repeatability perspective, though, it's not too bad at 22 with an adventure score of 12 and a relaxation score of 10 and an enrichment score of 8. It's kind of brought down a little bit because of perfect day. There's not much enrichment to do there. For the ship score, I'm going to give it a 4.75, which honestly is a bit generous, I think. It has not yet been reviewed by Cruise Critic, which is where I pull my ship scores from for some bonus points. However, based on where some of the Oasis class ships and Allure of the Seas, they kind of end up closer to 5, and then some of the other ones are closer to 4, 4.5. So I'm going to give this a 4.75. But again, with it being a brand new ship, not everything is going to be, it's going to be shiny and new, but the operations of the ship may not be fully as smooth as it could be, say, 2 or 3 months from now. So 4.75 for a ship score. It gets a novelty bonus of 1. The itinerary is just not bringing a lot extra to the table for a total score of 60.25. Okay, those are the inaugural itineraries. And those are the only times these first 2 weeks that they're sailing that they're doing that exact itinerary. They're not doing that itinerary any other time over the next 2 years. They are doing 52 sailings of a 7-night Western Caribbean cruise, which is very similar to the one we just looked at. It's a Western Caribbean cruise, right? But let's just compare the score difference here. The inaugural cruise got a 60.25 for the itinerary. This one, we leave from Miami, we have a day at sea, we then go to Costa Maya, and then we go down to Honduras, to Roatan. Then we cruise up to Cozumel, then we have a day at sea to get us over to the Bahamas, where we have our perfect day at CocoCay. Perfect day at CocoCay? If you know exactly how Royal Caribbean pronounces it, C-A-Y is pronounced key everywhere else, but it doesn't rhyme with perfect day. So let me know what you think about that in the comments. But we have a perfect day in the Bahamas, and then we head back to Miami from there. That's 4 countries, right? The United States, Bahamas, Mexico, and Honduras, with 4 stops and 2 sea days. That gets us our 2-to-1 port to sea day ratio, which I require for no deductions of a 7-day cruise. That gets us a variety score of 4. A repeatability score then, a respectable 28, adventure 16, relaxation 13, enrichment 12. The ship score again of 4.75 with a novelty score of 1. This brings our total score to 78.75. immediately we see that if we wait till they start running their regular sailings on the ship, it's a better itinerary right off the bat. The other main sailing, I said they do one, then they do the other, then they do one, then they do the other. The other main sailing is the Eastern Caribbean cruise, and they do this sailing 38 times in 2024 and 2025. This one leaves from Miami, has 2 days at sea, goes to St. Martin, St. Thomas, has a day at sea to get us back up to the Bahamas. We have our perfect day at CocoCay, and then we cruise to Miami. This is 4 countries, 3 stops, 3 sea days. So we get a variety score of 3.5 because of the 1-to-1 port to sea day ratio, a repeatability score of 24, an adventure score of 13, relaxation 13, enrichment 9, ship score 4.75, novelty of 1 for 68.25, right? Not too bad. Better than the first one, the first Western Caribbean, but not as good as the primary Western Caribbean cruise here on this Eastern Caribbean cruise. All right, so that's the main Eastern Caribbean cruise. There is a alternate Caribbean cruise where they do this sailing 16 times through 2024 and 2025, so it's easier to find. This one leaves from Miami, 2 days at sea again. You go to St. Kitts, and then you go to St. Thomas, and then you have a sea day and go up to CocoCay. So real similar, right? They've just swapped out St. Martin for St. Kitts. This is 4 countries, 3 stops, 3 sea days for a variety score of 3.5, repeatability of 26, adventure of 13, relaxation 12, enrichment 10, ship score 4.75, novelty of 1 for a total of 70.25. A little bit better, just a little bit better than the other Eastern Caribbean itinerary. I think St. Kitts has a little bit more on offer all around than St. Martin. Both are great stops, don't get me wrong. And we're kind of getting to the home stretch here, and I've got a couple more itineraries to talk about. So then there is one random sailing in 2025 where they're doing this itinerary 1 time. Leaving from Miami, we have 2 sea days. We go to St. Martin, then Puerto Rico, then Labadee, Haiti. Then we have a sea day and we come back to Miami. Rather than going to the Bahamas, to the private island, to CocoCay, we're going to Labadee, Haiti on this one. 4 countries, 3 stops, 3 sea days. Again, the score is not great on this one, a variety of 3.5, repeatability 24. Adventure 11, relaxation 11, enrichment 10, the ship score 4.75, but the novelty of 1.75, we get a little bit of a bump up there because nobody else cruises to Haiti. So it's a unique experience. If you're wanting to go somewhere new, you should consider this one for a total score of 66. And then we have another Eastern Caribbean variant. Again, it's just interesting how they're kind of piecing these together. They do this sailing 4 times, just 4 times, out of Miami, 2 days at sea, St. Thomas, Puerto Rico, a sea day, CocoCay. This one happens 4 times just in 2025. They're not doing it this year. Again, 4 countries, 3 stops, variety of 3.5, repeatability of 24, adventure 11, relaxation 10, enrichment 9, 4.75 for the ship, a novelty of 1, and for a total of 63.25. Okay, now, I want everyone to get out a pencil and a piece of paper because you're going to write some dates down. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is the cruise. I often say end it with a pick of which cruise should which cruise do I pick? Well, this is it. This is the cruise, and we're going to go through it right now. But before I do, please, I appreciate the like. I appreciate the subscribe. If you found the information interesting or helpful, let me know in the comments below. I'm trying to grow the channel. I love talking about cruises and cruise itineraries, so I hope you've been enjoying it. And let's dig in. There are 3 sailings, and let me walk you through the itinerary here. This is a 7-night Eastern Caribbean cruise. If you just look at the names, you can't tell the difference here. Royal Caribbean calls it Western Caribbean or Eastern Caribbean, but they don't specify which ones. You really have to dig in. This one leaves from Miami. You have a day at sea. It then goes to Puerto Plata, the Dominican Republic. It then cruises over to St. Thomas. It then cruises to Puerto Rico. You then have a day at sea where you then cruise up to the Bahamas where you visit CocoCay, and then you cruise back to Miami. That's 5 countries, right? 4 cruise port stops and only 2 days at sea. That gets us a variety score of 5, a repeatability of 32, adventure score 15, relaxation 13, enrichment 13, ship of 4.75, novelty of 1, with a total score of 83.75. This one sails only in 2025 on June 21st, August 9th, and September 20th. So those are the 3 dates for what is clearly the best itinerary on Icon of the Seas. That's it for me. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know which itineraries you'd like to see me review down in the comments below. I look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see you next time.